Good day, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and here at DDO Players. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Draculetta.
Hey, everybody. How's it going tonight?
And also, please welcome our guest for tonight, Steiner Davian.
Greetings and salutations.
We will go on to start off with by asking you how you got involved in Dungeons & Dragons.
Wow, I must have been, 7 or 8, and my brother had gotten me the blue box of D&D, the expert set, for my birthday.
All right.
Because he had the red basic set, and we played a few games together, particularly like on long car trips and stuff, family vacations. And then I just kept playing all throughout elementary school and high school and college and beyond.
All right. And what got you into DDO?
I was in the Navy stationed in Japan and on shore duty, and I somehow managed to stumble upon an advertisement or a pre-order link or an open beta thing for DDO around December of 2004. I had tried like Guild Wars and didn't really like that because it was very PvP centric.
Right.
I'm like, oh, and this is Dungeons and Dragons. I love Dungeons and Dragons. Let's see how faithful they are. And it turned out at the time it was pretty faithful to the game, and the mechanics were unlike any other MMO on the market. You know, I like the real time aspect of combat in the game, and started playing during the open beta, and then pre-ordered the game and participated in the Head Start program. Member of a founding guild on Galanda, which is no longer there, but you can see my name somewhere on the marketplace fountain thing.
Okay.
In the harbor or wherever the heck they moved it to. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got into DDO.
Okay, and how'd you get involved in the community?
It's summer of 2008, and I was just getting started with grad school and working part-time, and someone approached me, I don't remember how, about helping put together some commercials or short interludes for a DDO radio station on the internet,
right.
Which was like the second iteration of it. So I put together some definitive collectible type stuff that he could use like in between set playlists. And that show or internet radio station went belly up pretty quick. I guess it wasn't very successful. And I'm like, well, I put all this hard work together, and I've always wanted to help Jerry with a segment. So I'm like, all right, I've got all this hard work put together. Let me put it into an audio format and send it to Jerry. And hadn't looked back since.
Okay. Okay, then we'll give you a chance to talk about a few more things later on in the show. But for now, let's head into our game news. And the big news this week is that they have posted a test version of Update 28 Patch 1 on Lemania, though that was just for a quick weekend run. But anything interesting in this patch?
Basically, the whole patch is the Halloween Night Revels event. It's pretty much the bulk of the patch. There was a few other changes besides that. They did do a little bit of combat changes. It says they fixed an issue that could cause animation, and they use the, quote, popping, end quote, when wielding two weapons, which I guess when I'm dual wielding two weapons, I guess I've never noticed anything popping before, so I'm not sure what animation they're fixing. But apparently that's going to be fixed in this patch. The Ranger Tempest enhancements now have their proper level requirements. Sounds like there was a few of them that people were getting way too early, I guess. So that's fixed. And the Deepwood Stalker, they got the improved weapon finesse, now works for thrown weapons. I saw in the forums a lot of people were happy about the improved weapon finesse working with thrown weapons.
Now, with all these Ranger changes, because I know that you were considering doing a
Tempest?
A resurrection with your current Ranger, and I was wondering, are you going to tweak with your trees in here, or are you just going to...
No, I'm going to stay an Arcane Archer.
Okay, you're going to stay an Arcane Archer.
Yep, with
okay.
my main one, I'm just going to get rid of the rogue level.
Okay.
I thought about actually tweaking the tweeze, but then I thought, no, I want to stick with Arcane Archer because that's going to be updated soon, so...
All right.
And then there's just some little tweaks here and there. The biggest one, I guess, is the Hellhound Monster Manual deed. No longer says it requires dragon kills to complete.
Well, that's good.
Which would make sense. You're not killing dragons, you're killing hellhounds. But I did see on the forum, too, they apparently there's a bug with that on live right now. Somebody actually took the time to grind all 7,000 of those, and they did not get their pet. I know.
They killed 7,000 dragons for their hellhound pet?
No, they killed 7,000 hellhounds.
Oh.
Not dragons.
I was going to say, wow.
If you killed 7,000 dragons, good on you.
Right.
But yeah, so I guess that one of the devs did say, and I think one of the quality assurance people said they are looking into that to see why that's not working. So
yeah, that's 6,998 more dragons than I've killed.
That's right. The Halloween event, Night Revels, was the big thing. That's the bulk of the patch, which that is coming soonish. They still haven't said an exact date.
I'm guessing that'll be right before Halloween, or maybe even right after it.
And that's kind of what Jerry had said on one of the live streams. The week of Halloween, or maybe the week after. So,
all right. And I hear that you also made a list of items that we are expecting for the Night Revels.
And I will give the standard spoiler alert here. If you don't want to know, don't listen for about the next 2 minutes, maybe. And I hope you didn't look at the post. What what you're going to get is all consumable items. There are 2 augments that you can get, but the bulk of them are consumable items, and there's a few cosmetics. The augments are kind of nice. There's the Diamond of Spooky Wisdom, and that's going to give you... Actually, it says +6, but that was a bug. It's only +2.
Oh.
On Lamania, it was it said +6, but they made sure to state, nope, that's only going to be +2. And the Diamond of Spooky Intelligence, which is also a +2. So those are the 2 augments, and then the others, like I said, are just...
Okay. But since it's a spooky bonus, it means it stacks with other ability modifiers.
Yep.
I have to say, though, the Sweet Cinnamon Cloud looks like it's going to be pretty useless. I don't know anybody who puts any skill points into that skill.
Yeah, I don't. There's a couple of these that I'm like...
Oh, listen, that does sound like one of the least used skills in this game. Now, does listen actually come in handy for anything?
Well, it allegedly lets you detect sneaking monsters to some extent. You could, like, hearing their footsteps, but I can't really speak to how effective it is because I'd rather put my skill points into something more useful.
Like Spot?
Well, if I have skill points, I'll put it into Spot, yeah.
I have thought about actually making just like a little throwaway character and like dumping a bunch of points into Listen and see if it actually makes any difference at all. Because I'm kind of like you. I don't really think it actually does anything. Then again, like you, I don't ever put points into it, so...
Oh, Bonnie in the chat room saying you get a couple extra game messages with Listen.
Whoop-de-whoop-de-doo.
See, but maybe you can know what's going on behind a locked door, though, Pinely, before you open the door.
Well, I guess that can be useful.
But, if you've played a dungeon a couple times, those extra text messages are useless because you already know what they say. Or you already know what's behind the door or secret door or whatever.
And Quijan is saying you also will get a couple little red extra blips for sneaking mobs. I guess it's kind of useful-ish, I guess. Then there's also the almond-coated Shadow Apple, and that is basically a +5 spooky bonus to melee power and ranged power, and a +10 spooky bonus to universal spell power for 5 minutes. And another thing to note about all the consumables is they are going to go away at the end of the year.
Thank you, people who spoiled all the previous events.
That is the big thing to keep in mind. But the only thing they said, the augments and the cosmetics will not go away. And if you buy a key from the store, that will not go away. But other than that, all the consumables are going to disappear.
But the key will not be useful until theoretically the next year.
Correct, till Night Rebels come back again. Can you talk about Maybar a little bit? Because this, is quote-unquote the Maybar replacement. And if you've looked on the forums, there's quite a bit of forum rage over this because it's not Maybar.
I haven't run Maybar since, the first incarnation of it. Pretty much because it sucked from a playability standpoint. You had a bajillion people in a very small Dalaras graveyard trying to kill mobs of all different levels, kind of just like you have out in the Crystal Cove. But more importantly, the Spectral Dragon fight, the mechanics for that were terrible, and it suffered from the all-powerful, supercharged mystic lag monster, and which pretty much rendered that 24-person raid, if I remember correctly, unplayable for most instances.
Right. So why did everybody love Maybar so much? Because
Loot was really good.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know on the forums it's like that's all you hear about is bring Maybar back. We want our Maybar back. I guess I'm sad I missed it because I started playing right after it stopped for the first time is when I actually started playing the game for the little time I played, and then I quit again. So I have seen some of the loot, and I guess I can see why people went it back because there was some pretty sweet stuff in that.
Yeah. I mean, the drop rates for most of the ingredients were pretty decent, I thought. They were akin to what you'd find in like the Crystal Cove. You have to collect X number of things from killing the monsters and whatnot to get the lower tier items. It were fairly easy to come by if you could stomach being in an overcrowded tiny instance. Yeah, other than that, I don't have much to add to Maybar because it wasn't fun for me or any of my guildmates.
This isn't one of those things that people are thinking is the greatest thing in the world, tell everybody to come back, and then when they bring it back, if they really brought it back, it would have been something everyone will ignore because, it wasn't like what I remembered.
If they fixed the raid, like totally redesigned the Spectral Dragon raid, I think that it would be a very playable event because the public adventure area of Crystal Cove works fine, and it wasn't horrible in Dalaras Graveyard, but it was also just too small.
Right.
But it was the raid itself that just ruined that event because it was 2 12-man raid groups and it was all random people. Like you didn't get to really pick who you were going to be with for the most part.
Quijan in the chat is saying it was a great idea, but it did have fatal flaws. But people that are raging over it forget the complaints that everybody had at the time.
Yeah,
they're just remembering all the good times, I guess, about it.
Yeah, that's typical.
Which that kind of happens a lot. And if you didn't actually see what this event is, it's you basically go into Dalaras and you kill mobs to get key. So it's kind of like Crystal Cove in that aspect. Dalaras is split up. There is a quote-unquote like public instance where just you're in there with like a bunch of people. Or you can do like a semi-private instance that is just like you were, and they have it split by levels. And then like if you're in a group, you can go into theirs, so then it's just your group in there. And you basically kill mobs that spawn, and they'll drop chocolate pieces, and which are the mats that you need to get the items. Well, partly you have to get the rest in the dungeons. But the main thing you're looking for is the Night Rebels key. And those keys will what lets you unlock the 4 dungeons that they have. What the dungeons are is they're copies of other dungeons that we played in the game, but they've been like Halloweenified. The mobs are like skeletons, zombies, wraiths. There's, cobwebs everywhere. There's pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns and stuff everywhere. So they're kind of like spookier versions of normal dungeons. The one is Harbidash, which that's the Harbidasher map, or dungeon, I should say. Under new management is Stand Your Ground. The Kobold's newest ringleader is Kobold's new ringleader. The Snitch and the Lich is the Snitch. When you first enter them, it looks like it's a challenge because the more stars you get, the better experience and the better match that you get out of it. So you can think of it as a challenge in that way. But other than that, it's not really a challenge. It's just you're just running the dungeon. There's a thread up on the Lamania section of the forum where DDO Central did a little review of it. And, you can kind of see what people are saying. I thought it was okay. It was fun. I can see running it a couple times just to get a couple of the items. I don't think it's something I'm going to grind a lot.
Let's head on to our next item, which is the Fridays at for the Night Rebels preview with DDO Player Council.
Cordovan on his stream on Friday that he always does, aptly titled Fridays at 4 because he does it Friday at 4 o'clock. Imagine that little witty title he has for that. He had some members of the Players Council, and they did do the Night Rebels event. So they actually ran all the dungeons so you could actually see them. While it was going, of course, he did take questions from the chat, as he is known to do.
Yeah.
And there was some interesting things that we found out. The first thing is, Steiner kind of got it right. He said there is no given date as of yet for when the night reveals will be on live, but he says it will be the weekend of Halloween, maybe a little before, maybe a little after. So kudos to you, Steiner. You were right on with your guess on that.
Well, I've had, 9 years experience now, I guess.
See, that's right. And then Cordovan also said right now the max level on the Mania is set at 30, but when the event hits live, it's going to be set at 33. The dungeons are set up like challenges with the XP, so you get more XP the first time you run them. And speaking of XP, it is going to be reduced when it goes live, because right now it's handing out way too much experience on the Mania. Go on to say mobs will drop keys in the graveyard. As the last result, you can buy keys in the store, but he said their intention is to set the drop rate, and they were kind of testing this on the Mania this weekend too. They're trying to find a good place for the drop rate. He said their intention was for you to actually get the keys without having to buy one.
I'm assuming you would need 4 keys to run the 4 different Night Rebels quests.
Yes, you need a key for each dungeon.
And I'm assuming that each of those 4 quests are free to everybody.
Yes, that they did state as well, too.
Because I know at least 2 of those are in the harbor as part of the initial freebie of the game. But at least one of them, if not 2 of them, were adventure packs.
Yes, and he did say, yeah. And I guess there was some talk on that on the forums, because I guess on the Mania, there was something that stated you couldn't enter because you didn't have the right pack or whatever, and they said no, they will be free to everyone. And then he also stated, of course, people were asking about, well, this is not Maybar, why aren't you bringing Maybar back? The same dead horse that people keep beating in the forum.
Right.
So Cordovan said, and I'll quote him here, "This is a deliberate, different event than Maybar. Maybar was a high grind event for powerful end loot. This is a deliberately opposite set of quests. It's meant to run for a short period of time, a few hours, and you can get a couple pieces of fun loot."
In other words, it's for people like me rather than high-end players.
Cordovan also did go on to state that they might consider adding some of the Maybar loot to the event. But right now, for at least this year's event, the answer to that is definitely no. Because most of the Maybar loot right now is in the Mimic Hunt event. And if they would pull it out of that for this event, they would have to redo the drop tables for the Mimic Hunt, and they don't have time to do that. But it's something they will consider doing in the future, and he did stress the word might do.
Might.
He was very deliberate in saying they might add some of the Maybar. So I guess it's on the table, so we'll see what happens. And he said the way they designed this event, they always have the option to add more dungeons to future events that come on. So, this year we only have 4. Next year we might have 5 or 6. Or, they might switch them out. We might have 4 different ones next year or whatever. They have, I guess it's very easy for them to change it up and add events. And there will be another preview of this on the Mania before it hits live.
That's not surprising because the original Maybar event, they were able to swap out the graphics for beholders and stuff to make them like giant floating pumpkins with tentacle eyes.
And then I think the big thing that I was surprised about is he says the Night Rebels event will, of course, be a part of Update 28 Patch 1. Which is tentatively scheduled to go live either Wednesday or Thursday of this week. But he said that's still up in the air. They'll have more info coming. They're still working some stuff out. But it's going to have the underlying technology for them to allow to turn the event on. So it's going to be in the patch, but it won't be turned on. And then also in the Update 28 Patch 1 is going to be the underlying tech they need for the new DDO store, which they are hoping to get that up and running in a couple weeks. Sounds like there's a lot. Our Update 28 Patch 1 that we're really not going to see quite yet, but it's going to be underlying in some of the back-end tech. And that's it. But yeah, check that video out if you kind of want a preview of what all the dungeons look like. And the Players Council kind of talked a little bit about what they've been up to, and such is that.
All right, let's head into DDO Chronicle issue 161, where it looks like we've got a Dev and a slot on the front cover.
Well, we do. Bonnie should be happy. Her boyfriend's on the cover of the Chronicle. I see you in the chat, Bonnie. I hear you screaming now about Eritrakos being on the cover here.
Is that what that high-pitched scream was I just heard?
I think it was. I'm sure it was. See, you notice she's not saying anything in the chat right now, so she probably passed out.
She's probably too busy making out with her computer screen.
Hyperventilating, huh?
In the Chronicle this week, the big thing is DDO Cast celebrated a huge milestone with their 400th episode.
Wow.
So congratulations to Patrick and everybody involved. DDO Cast that is still involved and has been involved. That is pretty awesome to see 400 episodes. That episode is up now.
What, Cordovan's heard of that?
He has, kind of. He's kind of vaguely familiar with DDO Cast.
Yes, okay.
I meant to contribute to that episode, but real life just got in the way last week, and I never was able to get my recording done in the emails. So, Patrick, I am sorry.
Yeah, that was an awesome episode. Patrick does have some goodies to give away. Check out their website for more information on what you can win and how you can win it, and be sure to either watch the YouTube version or download that, and wish them happy 400th, which that is pretty awesome for a podcast to make 400 episodes. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head if I can think of any other podcasts that have hit 400. There's probably not many.
None that I listen to.
Yeah. DDO live stream, Death by Dwarf, returns noon on Thursdays. So make sure to check that out on the official DDO stream.
Does that mean he gets killed by dwarves, or that he's a dwarf that's dealing death?
Maybe a little of both.
Or maybe a story called Death written by someone, by a dwarf.
I think you're putting way too much logic into this, by the way.
I think it's a bunch of elves being physically beaten by someone wielding a dwarf.
Bonnie in the chat is saying Eritrakos is the cuddliest demon general of them all.
But is that really saying much? Because he's like the only real demon general. But whatever floats her boat, I guess.
That's right. We'll let Bonnie have her little Eritrakos. And also in the Chronicle, the Shady Rogues head into the Snitch. So check their latest video out. What'd you say?
The Golden Snitch?
The Golden Snitch? What's the Golden Snitch?
Oh my gosh. I can't even just made a reference to it.
Okay, apparently I don't know, but I'm glad Steiner did, so your reference did not go unnoticed.
Okay.
I will look that up later. Ginger Spice also takes a look at the new Update 28 quest. Check him out in the fan site section, House of Grouse. He's taking a look at the new Ranger changes. Edric brings his charm to Storm of the Beaches. Click over and check out his latest blog post. And that's it for our Chronicle this week.
Then let's head into our store sales. And is there anything nice on sale this week?
30% off Stat Tomes, Skill and UMD Tomes, Tomes of Learning, Select Tomes of Fate, and the Harper Agent Enhancement Tree. All 30% off in the store and available for a limited time through October 8th. You can get plus 3 Tomes of Fate.
I'm guessing those are the ones that are not 30% off.
You are correct. I looked that up when I looked to see the tomes that were on sale, and I'm like, that's a coincidence that they're not on sale.
Yeah.
The free sample of the week through October 8th as well is the Petal Pink Hair Dye. Use the coupon code PNKDY.
Pink dye.
And you get 1 dye per account. If many of you are wondering why do we have pink hair dye as the pre-sample of the week, it was actually a suggestion in the forums.
By Rowan Hill.
I can't remember who it was. I have
no idea, but she's always wanted pink in the game.
Yeah, I don't think it was Rowan Hill, actually. This month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. A player thought it would be nice if maybe we could have a free sample of pink hair dye in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We have our free sample, and I used the free sample, and my Shade Archive now has pink hair because I can.
Let's head into the site news. And our big news there this week is that we have reached a level in our Patreon where we will now have a 1-year VIP code giveaway. And what are the rules for this?
The rules are very simple. You have until October 19th to enter. Just head over to ddoplayers.com. Look for that post, which is aptly titled 1-year VIP code giveaway. So it should be pretty easy to find. You can also just click on the popular tab and it'll pull it up because we are getting a ton of comments on this. Everybody wants that 1-year VIP code. And just leave a comment and just make sure that you're using a valid email because we will be sending the code via email. So we will need to hear back from you. So once you enter, make sure it is an email that you do check often. And anybody is eligible to enter other than anybody that has ever been on the staff of DDOplayers.com, which will include the website and the podcast. That is past and current staff, and their immediate family are sadly not eligible to enter. So finally, no 1-year VIP codes for us.
Anyway, I thought they had the usual rule against people who have names that represent evergreen foliage.
We should make that a rule, just because that's awesome.
And no vampires?
And no vampires, that's right. See? But October 19th is the end date for the contest, so good luck. And right now, as of this recording, we are at 117 entries, and they are coming in fast and furious.
All right, then. So I've got a question, Drag.
Sure.
All right. And speaking of contests, does the winner of the Stormreach campaign giveaway have the book in their hands yet?
They do not.
What?
Because remember when I said when you enter contest on our site, we do email you. Make sure it's an email that you check regularly. They did not get back to me.
Oh, wow.
I sent them another email today. I gave them until tomorrow at noon to get back with me. If I don't hear back, I will go to random.org and draw another number, and we are going to draw another winner. So if you sent your entry in for the Stormreach campaign giveaway, check the email that you used to enter on the site. And also, you might want to check your spam folders just in case. It might have gone into a spam folder maybe, but because I would love to give this to the first person that we drew. But I have not heard from them yet, so we'll see what happens. So once again, if you entered, check your email. You should have an email from me probably.
Of course.
We're the winner.
Of course, if that person's not listening live, they're going to hear this.
That's true. They'll hear it Wednesday, and it'll be too late. So, too bad you didn't have a TARDIS to where you could have gone back in time to listen to this live, and then jumped back in time to check your email in time. Wow, I just blew my own mind there.
Let's head into the screenshots of the week, the last 2 weeks, and I'm trying to figure out what in the world is this?
Last week, I was a bad producer of the podcast and did not include this in last week's episode. And I realized it after the episode was over. So we're going to talk about last week's, which was number 34. This was sent by Quijan. And he said this is a demon-related screenshot to tie in with all the discussion about Rage of Demons. You do know Rage of Demons, of course, is the new storyline that is happening in pen and paper D&D right now. And he calls this the source of the demon infestation. It is something you can find in the Underdark. And it looks like an ugly old demon. I will give you that.
The Underdark or the Demon Web? It looks like the Demon Web.
He said in the email he sent me Underdark. He's in the chat. Let's see if he says. It's an actual explorer area in the Underdark, he said.
Huh. It looks like one of the monsters that in the Demon Web. And the purple and lighting and everything. Looks like it. Could very well be. They are very similar.
He did say, I took this to add to my thread on the forum, the Rage of Demons Underdark tie-in, to basically raise the question about the lack of tie-in with what else is happening in D&D, and to suggest that maybe we don't need to bring a whole new team of developers on board to allow us to tie in, because basically we have a bunch of demons in the Underdark right now, so we can just tie it in nicely. So, and I did link that in the post. I did link his thread if you want to hop over on the forums and check that out. So thanks, Quijan, for sending that awesome screenshot in.
And it looks like that this week's screenshot of the week is having a little party.
Yes, but I must say I'm a little jealous.
jealous?
See, because Bonnie has her Eritracos.
Who doesn't want militia?
That's what I'm saying. This is, of course, in the and wow, I'm just drawing a blank on the quest that this is. It's in House Maryland.
I'm guessing that's
under the big top.
under the big top.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Fight.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yep, that's what it is. And he says, I thought I would just share some photos of my play this weekend. The carnival was in town. Militia and me. So there you go. I must say I am jealous of Gum's gang. That's who sent this in this week.
I think it's pretty cool. Look, the Warforged looks like he has a tiefling on his shoulder.
If you have any screenshots you are particularly proud of, go ahead and send them to podcast@ddoplayers.com. We might use it on the website.
Let's head into our news beyond DDO, and we'll begin with Sword Coast Adventures Guide Preview for Extra Life.
This past weekend, of course, was the Extra Life charity game that Wizards of the Coast was doing. They basically played D&D for 48 hours, which I watched probably 3 or 4 hours of it, and it was awesome from what I saw. And part of that is people were donating. They had certain goals set up. They started at 25,000 and they went all the way up to 100,000. Each one of those milestone goals they met, they started giving us previews for the upcoming Adventures Guide, which is soon to be released on November 3rd, actually, which you can pre-order it now on Amazon and your friendly local hood game stores. Can also pre-order it for you. But the first one up was the $25,000 mark, and we got the preface. Must say they got a cool-looking little, I'm assuming that's going to be a wizard, I would think, in the
Looks
picture.
a bit wizardly.
Yeah, I would think so. So not much really to talk about there. Then the next one that was released was the $50,000 goal, and that gave us the ever-popular Table of Contents. So we can see what's in store in the book, and it looks like if you're into Forgotten Realms, this is going to be the book for you to add all the Forgotten Realms stuffs into 5e. They cover, looks like, pretty much everything, and then they weren't done yet.
Not done yet.
People kept donating. They hit 60,000, which that gave us which for some reason I don't have this up in the show notes. I will add this on the site. We got a cantrip, the Green Flame Blade. And then I'm not sure why I didn't put that up on the site, but I will do that. I apologize for that. They also hit $70,000, believe it or not. So we got a new background, the Urban Bounty Hunter, which that didn't really impress me much, I'll just be honest.
Okay.
I read through it and I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess some people might be excited about it, but you can see it over on the site. And then the final one they hit was the 80,000 mark, and that gave us the new roguish archetype, the Mastermind. And this looked pretty interesting to me. I might think about maybe doing one of these, but I don't really ever play 5e. I always DM it, so I don't know when I could use one of these new Masterminds, but I'll figure out some way to use one.
Well, I would have thought that a DM would have more use for a mastermind than a player.
See, I could make like an NPC to like screw with my party. Ooh, that's an idea.
Hey, you could have one that's sitting in the Tomb of Horrors waiting for your party.
Oh yes, Tomb of Horrors is coming. More on that next week.
Okay.
I have plans. I have lots of plans.
I'm sure you do.
And then I did see a tweet from Wizards of the Coast. Their actual game weekend is over, but they are still taking donations. So if they do get the 90,000 or the 100,000 goal, they will release the other two things they had said they would. So you can still donate to their Extra Life, which is always good to help the kids.
Then let's head into the Fantasy Grounds moving towards 3D. You're saying it's not in 3D now?
It's not. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Quijon in the chat. He said Chris Perkins just felt a shiver up his spine when you yelled Green Flame. And that is really funny. If you watched the Acquisitions Incorporated, you will know why that was funny. So moving on to Fantasy Grounds. It's it's semi 3D now, but not in this way. The Fantasy Grounds, which of course we've talked about plenty of times on the show, that's the officially licensed D&D virtual tabletop. They are making a big foray into the 3D world. They have acquired a company called Tabletop Connect. And basically what Tabletop Connect is it was a Kickstarter project that successfully got kickstarted a few years ago that brought a better 3D virtual table to the game space. They say Tabletop Connect is a system-neutral 3D virtual tabletop that lets you connect with your friends and play role-playing games just like you're sitting around a real table. You do play in a true 3D environment with miniatures, terrain tiles, physics, simulated dice, character sheets, and handouts. It is so 3D you can almost feel the dice in your hand.
Does this mean you're going to need special glasses to watch it?
You will not. It's not quite that 3D, Pilot.
Okay, not that 3D.
We're not talking real world 3D here, Pilot.
Okay. No holographic.
That's right. No beholders popping out at the screen at you.
Okay.
So the Fantasy Grounds said, we have been following the progress of Table Connect since it successfully launched it on Kickstart, and they have been very impressed with what Carl has been able to produce with just a one-man operation. He shares the same vision we do on many areas, and they bring a unique level of talent, passion, and creativity that is very hard to find these days. After some great one-on-one discussions, we believe that together, Fantasy Grounds and Tabletop Connect can do more than they could working separately. And they did go on to say, if you did happen to back Tabletop Connect on Kickstarter, you are going to soon receive details on how the realignment is going to affect you as a Kickstart backer. But I have a couple pictures up on the article that I put up on the website. It looks pretty sweet, actually. Because as of now, if you've ever seen Fantasy Grounds now, you just get little like tokens that you move around, and these are actually going to be miniatures that you can use. So I think it's going to make Fantasy Grounds just that much better.
Yeah, the only thing I'm not looking forward to is the cost of additional minis to use in there, because the Fantasy Ground tokens, or the tokens that you can get for Fantasy Grounds, are pretty expensive for very limited selection of tokens for characters and monsters.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if maybe Tabletop Connect has some already, and maybe I'm not sure if like Fantasy Grounds is just going to they're going to sell like the Tabletop Connect as like an extra plugin you can get.
Probably.
If that might include some minis. I hope they would do that. I guess we'll have to see. There's really no more news on it, but it's kind of cool to see everything moving more towards, actual 3D type play. Kind of make your pen and paper more like a video game, I guess.
Then let's head into the Van Diesel, who talks about Dungeons & Dragons and The Last Witch Hunter.
This should come as a shock to absolutely nobody that Vin Diesel is a huge Dungeons & Dragons fan. He did talk about, not too long ago, his birthday cake was the 3rd edition Dungeon Master book. So he's big into D&D, and he talks about it quite a lot in all of his interviews. He's got a new movie out coming called The Last Witch Hunter, and the website Collider had an interview with him, and he talked a lot about D&D, and it's kind of interesting that he basically modeled his character in the movie around a character that he played in D&D for many, many years.
Ooh.
And Collider asked him what edition of D&D that he played, and he said he started out with 2nd edition, and then he goes on to say, I'm going to go way back. For the 30th anniversary of the game called Dungeons & Dragons, the company at the time had asked me to do a foreword and to write the foreword on the cover of the book. I talked about my experiences growing up playing D&D religiously, and I even talked about the character that I had named Melkor, a name that I obviously stole from the Silmarillion, and the character was a witch hunter. About 4 years ago, or maybe 3.5, I met with a writer named Corey Goodman. We started talking about D&D, and he said he was a big D&D player himself. And we started talking about my character Melkor, which, of course, was a witch hunter. And that led to him basically writing this movie. He thought about Vin Diesel as he was writing the script. He always wanted Vin Diesel into the movie. That worked out.
Okay. Though I suspect he did not use the name Melkor for the character.
Kind of doubt it. I'm sure the Tolkien Enterprise would probably frown upon that. But yeah. I guess we'll see when the movie comes out.
All right.
So yeah, this article is like a great read, because the first probably half of the article is just Vin Diesel gushing about D&D. The dude is a big D&D nerd. Like, through and through. So much that this weekend, actually, the Geek and Sundry YouTube channel was also doing Extra Life. And they have a D&D show that is on there called Critical Role. And they were doing a special Critical Role. And they actually had Vin Diesel on there, and he played D&D with the Critical Role guys this weekend as part of the Geek and Sundry Extra Life event.
That is awesome.
It is awesome.
I missed it.
I watched some of it today on YouTube. Yeah, I didn't. I had forgot about it because I was watching the Wizards Extra Life. I completely forgot that Geek and Sundry was also doing it. Yeah, it was pretty sweet to see him playing with the Critical Role guys.
Was it fit into their regular story?
Yep, and Matt Mercer, who's the DM for that, actually worked in a Witch Hunter for Vin, actually.
Now time for Steiner Davian to speak about whatever he's up to.
If you guys didn't know, I know there's a few people in the chat room who do know, and I know you guys know, but I play with Patrick during the DDO Cash Blood every week, so we'd love to have you guys check that out. It's Tuesday nights at around 8 Eastern, or 5 p.m. Pacific, I guess is when Patrick gets off of work. So, yeah, definitely check that out. And if you haven't tried real Permadeath, please do. It's so refreshing from your regular Zergfest or flower sniffing playstyles or anything in between. Really kind of brings back the feel, I think, of, tabletop D&D. Don't quite know what's going to happen around the next corner. Even if you do know what's going to happen around the next corner, you never know how it's going to turn out, even if you've done that quest a million times. Yeah, so you can check us out every Tuesday. And you can also find me writing occasionally on DDO Gamer. I only have a handful of posts up there. Check out Jeff's site as well.
Going back to the DDO Cash Blood, I have to say, you guys make me so nervous just watching that sometimes. Because
we make ourselves nervous.
I'm like, some of the stuff you do, I'm like, oh no, you're going to die. Don't do that, you're going to die. So yeah, I love watching that. And I think all you guys gel well, and it's just, it's just fun to watch, just to hear you guys chat. And I do kind of agree with you. It does have the classic tabletop, like dungeon crawl feel to it, because, you usually don't, zerg in somewhere. You're kind of cautious. Well, sometimes you guys are kind of cautious. There are some times when you dump the stuff, I'm like, oh, I know this dungeon and I know what's going to happen. This is not going to be good.
Well, there's one person in the group who's really cautious, someone who's kind of cautious, and then there's at least 2 or 3 of us who forget we're playing Permadeath about 99% of the time. and one person like 150% of the time.
And have you guys challenged the infamous Gatling?
No,
ballista?
I keep trying to get them to go into Temple of Elemental Evil.
Oh, but they haven't gone in yet?
No.
All right.
So I'm calling us out.
There you go, Patrick. The gauntlet has been thrown here on DDO Players. You guys need to do the temple.
Now let's go into what we did this week. Drac, did you do anything interesting? And did you get any interesting drops?
Not really, and no.
Oh.
So there's my week. Basically, I spent all of my week running the Devil's Gambit quest over and over.
Sorry for contributing to that.
That's right. I did it on 3 characters. I'm taking my level 18 rogue through, and what I'm doing is I'm running it on normal, and then I run it on hard. I tried to do it on elite, and I can't do it. I just get killed. The Grim and Barrett, I actually make it into... I made it down to where the jailkeeper is, or whatever you want to call that guy. So that was the farthest I made it on elite. I don't know. I think it's my build or something. I don't know. I can't do elite. But normal and hard, I pretty much got it down pat. I'm like just running through these quests over and over, and I'm only doing 3 of them because those are the ones that I want the drops from. On my rogue, I did manage to get the bracers to drop, which I'm like, whoop-de-doo, I'm a rogue, what do I need with bracers for? Right. But I'll probably pass them off to another character. Well, my Shader Kai is, she was level 15, and I thought, I'll run the Shader Kai through these to see what happens. I reached level 16, also hit 200 favor at the time by running these over and over and over continuously. Did manage to get the locked and loaded on the Shader Kai, which again, not really exciting because its hand wrap's not what I'm looking for. but I'm thinking the RNG is inching a little towards my favor, though, because I'm starting to get all these other things to drop. So maybe that's a good sign.
How does an item called Lock and Loaded beat hand wraps?
I have no idea.
Because you're locking and loading the guns.
But the hand wraps aren't the guns.
But you're getting ready to punch things in the face.
Your biceps, man. Your biceps.
That's right.
Well, to me, Lock and Load sounds more like the name of a crossbow, because you'll lock the crossbow in place and load the bolt.
See, Pine Leaf logic again. You can't use Pine Leaf logic.
Either that or introduce arquebuses to the game.
Well, there's that too. So my quest goes on, and if anybody didn't know, the reason why I'm running these ad nauseum is I'm trying to get the Eagle's Eye, I'm trying to get Slice and Dice, and the Quiver are the 4 things that I'm trying to get.
Oh, gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. See, it makes sense. But no, I get Locked and Loaded and Barbet's Bracer. But so I guess the RNG was kind of nice to me, maybe, kind of, I guess. And then my Ranger Rogue reached level 16. That's the one I run with Pine Leaf. I'll let him tell you what we did. But spoiler alert, you kind of already know what we did.
Right. Yes, right. We ran Devil's Gambit, and apparently Drac got no drops in there.
I did not.
I think I got 2 drops in there. None of them useful to me. And
yeah, you got the shield, but you got the demonic slab, but I don't remember you getting anything else though. What else?
I thought I got another one also in there.
I do remember you getting the demonic slab, because I remember seeing that in the chest.
Yeah, because I thought I had something else in there also, but it was something equally not useful for my character.
So what did you think of those quests then? Because I know that was your first time running them.
Well, that was interesting.
I still say Grim and Baird is my favorite of those.
Yeah, that is.
But I do have a question and I guess I'll put this out to all the listeners. Was it just me, or did anybody else think when you were running Multitude of Menace, did you not think of Captain Jack Sparrow when the tiefling was talking every time he talked? I swear he sounds like Jack Sparrow. Maybe it's just me. I'm hearing crickets, so apparently not.
Drac finally reminded me, or more likely told me, about being able to create thieves' tools at Canet, so that I can have some nice actual tools and create them with a nice plus on them with the stuff that I've been carrying around with me all this time.
Yeah, and that was like a really funny conversation, how that happened.
Yes.
We were like, because we had got done playing on Wednesday, and we were cleaning out our inventory and stuff like we do, selling stuff, and Pineley said he only had like 5 thieves' tools left or something, and you were running around getting ready to buy them, and I was like, dude, why are you buying those? Just make them. And he's like, you can craft thieves' tools?
You guys should record the audio from when you guys play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have thought about that, because there is some golden stuff in that, actually.
Right. Well, actually, I did wind up buying some, because I had bought some at the rep vendor, and I bought a set there, and then I remember, wait a minute, I've got a Thad's at my my ship. So I poured over a ship, and I found out that Thad sells them for a lot less.
So yeah,
the rep vendors.
So I told Pine Leaf, I told him what he needed to make them, I told him where to go, so he made them.
And so now I've got a good amount of them. Also, when I leveled and all the things going in there. Oh, that's right, because I got my spyglass when we leveled. So now my search skill is way up there.
Yes, that's why I know in the beginning of the show we kind of talked about it. My Ranger Rogue. The reason why I had a Ranger Rogue is when Pine Leaf and I first decided we were going to play together, and these characters were only playing together, so we're leveling at the same time. He was on his, I think you were on your Wizard, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on a Wizard.
And so I said, well, the next time I level, I'll splash in Rogue so I can take care of the traps and the doors or whatever. Well, then about a week later, all of a sudden Pine Leaf shows up on Wednesday night, and he's on an Artificer. And I'm like, why did I do these Rogue levels then? Now we get to the point where we fight over the trap. I finally decided, you know what? I'm just going to do the little baby reincarnation you can do, and I'm just going to get rid of the Rogue levels. I'm not exactly sure how to do it. I talked with Bonnie about it, and she kind of explained how to do it, so it sounds pretty easy to do, so I'm probably going to attempt that this week.
How many rogue levels do you have?
I want to say 4.
Yeah, you need at least 2 hearts or a +5.
Yeah, I have to double check, but I want to say I think I'm 4 rogue. And then I finally stopped because I thought, well, this is stupid because Pine Leaf's an artificer. It makes no sense. So I'm just going to go straight rangers. We'll see how that works. I hope I don't totally bork my character up forever, but we'll see what happens.
Well, as long as you know what levels you took the rogue levels at, it sounds like you do.
Yeah, yep, I do. I kind of remember. So hopefully that'll go well.
Okay. Well, the one place where the rogue levels do come in handy is because you've got evasion there, and whenever there's a trap, I get...
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Don't Rangers get it at 7?
So they do get evasion?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Still be able to, but I won't be able to actually do anything with the traps, though. But
Right. Let's then go on to my new character for my Permadeath series, and this time I'm on the Sorcerer. And where I ran through levels 1 through 3, I did the usual Korthos Village and Korthos Island quests. There are 2 points on there. What happened is that when I was running the Collaborator, inside that chest you have in the bar that you get told about, which must have a spot DC of about -1, I opened the thing up, and inside it were 250 Omnispell dust.
Really? I've never gotten anything out of that chest worth anything. Well, of course I didn't. What am I saying? Yeah. Wow, yeah, that's awesome.
250 Omnispell. When I'm playing a sorcerer, you're like, okay.
Yeah, that might come in handy. A well-timed drop, it seems.
Yes, and then on Korthos Island, when I was running Necromancer's Doom, I don't know how I did it, but I accidentally set that dungeon to Elite rather than Normal.
And how'd that go?
Well, I just imagine I have a feeling that if I was going to choose a character on which I will attempt to do Necromancer's Doom on Elite, it was not going to be a sorcerer. because the reason why I eventually figured out I had to be on Elite is because I said, why am I getting so many mobs? It's like there are mobs all over the place. I said, wait a minute, this is 3 times as many mobs as I usually get. And so I somehow survived all of that. I mean, that was very tough on a sorcerer, since they're not exactly what you call the most robust class in Dungeons & Dragons.
Well, they are the glass cannon of the game.
Yes, and I did learn that you're very much a cannon in there and I came pretty close to learning about the glass part. That pretty much covers my week. So, Steiner, Davian, what did you do this week?
Pretty much the only thing I was able to do this week was run the Devil's Gambit on my kind of sort of newly true reincarnated swashbuckler.
Kind of truly?
Yeah, I had true and reincarnated him, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I had just finished up doing all my Coin Lord and House K favor to get the extra inventory and bank slots, because my TR cache is quite full. And so I was looking for something to do, and I wanted to do something that I hadn't done before. I'm like, oh, well, update 28. Let's run those quests. So I put up an LFM, and while I was waiting, I stepped into, I guess it was Tavern Brawl first, on Elite, at level. And my swashbuckler, he's got like 33 or 35% dodge. So I'm like, I should be able to handle this okay, because I have a very twitchy playstyle with my melee characters, and don't stand still very much. And I kind of cleared off the first tier of mobs, and then I accidentally somehow, I don't know how I did it, pulled a couple more up from the basement or one of the side rooms. And next thing I know, I went from full hit points to ding. So I recalled from there, and at that point I had a bunch of people hitting my LFM up, so we reset the quest, and then walked through it on Elite. Didn't get any pulls out of it, any loot that I'm aware of. Though someone may have gotten Return to Sender, but I can't remember. Then we finished running up the other quests. I pulled the Ivy, not the Ivy Helix, the Laurel Helix out of Grim and Barrett, and someone passed me the Dose and the Insight so I could pass it on to my Warforged wizard. And then did Subversion, pulled the Lion's Mane, which are, those 2 items are, Laurel Helix and the Lion's Mane could come in handy for my swashbuckler, though I'm not quite certain how I can fit in the Lion's Mane because I have my Green Steel Con-Up necklace in the next slot. And I need that for the spell point regen and a couple other things. Hit point regen being one of them. And then we finished up with Multitude of Menace, and don't recall anything dropping there. So that's pretty much my week in DDO.
All right, thank you. And if you would like to help support DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on DDO Players News, or even be a guest host with us. Now, we did not receive any iTunes reviews, but we would love to have some. We have no featured comments, but we do have an email from our favorite stalker. And Dreek writes, "Hey, Drac and Pineleaf, how are you guys doing? It's been a little while since your stalker sent you guys an email, so I wanted to take a second to send you guys a quick note. I couldn't help but smile when you guys were talking about running through Wayloon Prison. I too have found that Explorer area very frustrating at times to move my way through. Although I do like to Explorer Zone being through a hostile village, gives you a different perspective instead of exploring various forms of forested areas. In any case, I wish you guys luck out there. I'll be taking Andreek through there soon, as there are some of the next set of quests he needs to do on Elite. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to your next episode." If you'd like to be like Andreek and email us, you could send it to podcast@ddoplayers.com, and you could also follow us at Twitter. The Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, DDO Players @DDO Players, Draculeta @Draculeta_72, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Neils, and you can follow our guest @Steiner Davian. The Players Alliance has 3 live shows every single week on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and actually it's every other Thursday, not every week, for the XP Quest. We are still getting that set up, but that should be coming out soon. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Locho Players News. Now, following Locho Players News every other week, we have Tales of the Free Folk. And you can join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for this week. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to blast those bugbears.